I woke up to every car lover's nightmare: two men in fake uniforms trying to tow my Porsche 911 right out of my driveway in broad daylight. They claimed it was official HOA business, but anyone with eyes could see it was nothing more than a daylight theft. What they didn't know, what no one on that street knew until that moment, was that I'm a U.S. Marshal and I had no intention of letting them win. Let me rewind. My name's George Matthews. After years of chasing fugitives across state lines, I wanted peace. That's why my wife Danielle and I moved to Greenfield, a quiet neighborhood with white fences, manicured lawns, and block parties, where the biggest fight was over who brought the best dip. For about a month, it was perfect. Then we met Karen Kyle, HOA president, the kind of woman who wore her title like a crown of thorns, ready to poke anyone who didn't bow. It started small $25 fines for a coiled hose warnings for a doormat that didn't match her approved palette. I paid them thinking it wasn't worth the fight, but paying only made her bolder. Soon the violations weren't just petty, they were fabricated. She invented terms like lawn aesthetic imbalance. At first it was annoying, then it started to feel like targeted harassment. The final straw wasn't a piece of paper. It was my car. My one indulgence, a silver Porsche 911 sitting on 4 tires. No note, no witnesses, but I knew. You don't spend years hunting predators without recognizing the stink of vindictive evil. I replaced the tires, but the very next day, a bright orange notice was taped to my door. My Porsche was in disrepair, leaking fluids, and if I didn't move it, it would be towed. Problem was, the garage was packed with boxes, and Karen's own rules banned parking on the street overnight. It was a trap. So that's how I ended up standing on Elm Street at high noon, staring down a rusty tow truck with a cheap magnetic sign that read HA Security. Two men built like refrigerators fiddled with chains. And there was Karen, pink visor tennis skirt, holding a tablet like a scepter. She smirked, checked her watch perfectly on schedule. She thought she had me cornered, but I wasn't in my weekend polo. That morning I'd slipped on a black t-shirt with two bold words, U.S. Marshal. Not a costume. It was training gear, but it sent a message. Danielle had her phone ready, live stream rolling. Neighbors were tuning in. Witnesses matter. That's far enough, Mr. Matthews, Karen chirped. This is official HOA business. This is a public street, Karen, I said evenly. For the record, I am U.S. Marshal George Matthews, and I am documenting a crime in progress. Her goon laughed, tugging up his sleeve to show a fake traffic armband. His buddy lowered a hook toward my car. I took one step forward. I wouldn't do that. He puffed up his chest, got in my face. His breath reeked of coffee. Or what? You gonna flash that fake badge, hero? That's when I saw it, his partner rounding the car with a crowbar dangling low. Danielle's voice crackled in my ear. 200 viewers, George. Everyone sees it. He swung. Instinct took over. I stepped inside his arc palm to his jaw, and the crowbar clattered to the pavement. Seconds later, both men were down, one clutching his arm, the other gasping for air on the hot asphalt. I kept my hands open, my voice steady, explaining first aid to the live stream, checking for injuries. Help is on the way. Karen screeched. Assault! He's attacking my employees! But just then, squad cars rolled in. Deputies saw the crowbar, the bruisers my credentials. They weren't buying her act. Turns out the company wasn't even real, just a shell business Karen set up 2 months earlier. Her hired muscle ended up cuffed, her tow truck impounded. She, of course, still acted like the victim. And here's the thing. When it was over, when the adrenaline faded, I almost walked away. I thought maybe I'd gone too far. Maybe we should sell the house and leave. That night, staring at my car through the window, I whispered to Danielle, maybe this isn't worth it. She just shook her head. If we leave, she wins. And if she can do this to you, she can do it to anyone. That's what pulled me back. The very next day, Karen parked her custom fuchsia golf cart across a fire hydrant. Hypocrisy in neon pink. Danielle and I didn't confront her. I called the fire marshal. An hour later, a tow truck hauled away her royal chariot, while the neighborhood Facebook page lit up with photos and comments like, "Looks like the Queen's ride just got repossessed." For the first time, people laughed at her instead of fearing her. That was the spark I needed. Danielle and I turned our dining table into a war room. She pulled property records and digital trails. I canvassed neighbors for camera footage. What we found was bigger than HOA drama. It was organized theft. Night after night, the same unlicensed tow truck snatched cars, trailers, even a kid's first car. And the money trail, Venmo. Payments from Karen's goons to a man named Frank Miller, the city's own code inspector. That was the shortcut, the muscle behind her petty rules. Frank slapped official stickers on cars, giving Karen's thugs legal cover to steal them. That changed everything. It wasn't just an HOA war, it was public corruption. So I set a trap. I staged my Porsche again, low-tire puddle of coolant. Right on cue, Frank showed up, scribbled a ticket slapped on a bright orange sticker. Danielle caught him on 3 different cameras. The clock started 72 hours until tow. On the 3rd night, Ricky and Mike returned. They broke my window, hooked up the Porsche, laughing into their walkie-talkies. Danielle pushed the live stream live Greenfield HOA stealing car from residents' driveway. Within minutes, hundreds were watching. Then showtime. The tow truck pulled forward and Danielle hit the kill switch. The Porsche locked solid in the middle of the intersection, hazard lights flashing. The tow truck screeched, dragging black marks across the asphalt. Neighbors' lights flicked on. Phones recorded from windows. On screen, you could see Ricky and Mike panicking, yanking at chains, shouting at each other. The whole neighborhood watched their scheme collapse in real time. By the time police arrived, the live stream had over 1,000 viewers. The FBI, who I'd tipped off, swooped in too. Frank Miller was arrested. The warehouse full of stolen property was raided. And Karen. She still thought she was untouchable. She strutted into the monthly HOA meeting, mask of confidence plastered on her face. She sat at the head of the table lecturing homeowners about mailbox colors, completely unaware Danielle had hijacked the clubhouse TV feed. At 7:15 sharp, the screen flickered. Instead of local news, the room filled with live FBI raid footage. Agents busting down doors, shouting commands, rows of stolen cars, neighbors' property lined up like trophies. The auctioneer cuffed. Frank Miller dragged away. And then Agent Harris looked straight into the camera and said the words that shattered Karen's world. These thefts were orchestrated by the Greenfield HOA under the direction of its president, Karen Kyle. The room gasped. Eyes turned to her. Faces of neighbors she'd bullied now burned holes through her. Karen stammered, pointed at me in the back row. "He's framing me. This is fake." But no one believed her anymore. That's when the clubhouse doors opened. Deputies walked straight to the head table. "Karen Kyle, you're under arrest for conspiracy, grand theft, and racketeering." The click of handcuffs echoed like a gunshot. She looked around, desperate for support, but all she saw was contempt. As they led her past me, our eyes locked. Pure hatred in hers, calm resolve in mine. That's where it ended. Her empire crumbled under the weight of evidence, cameras, and a community finally willing to stand up. And if there's one thing I learned, it's this power built on fear only lasts until the day someone shines a light and then it collapses.